Hi everyone and welcome back to Newegg TV. My name is Paul and today I'm going to be doing an unboxing and overview of this new 280mm closed loop liquid CPU cooler from Swiftech. This is the H220. We'll start off with a closer look at the retail box, and did I say closed loop? I might have said closed loop. This is actually upgradable, so you can integrate this into a full custom loop if you so desire, but it ships as a closed loop unit. I will be coming back to those features in the future though. We have a 3-year warranty provided from Swiftech for this product, so they are standing behind it. And as far as compatibility, it is all down there in the lower left. For Intel, you have 775, 1155, 1156, 1366, and 2011. And I can confirm that socket 1155 is going to be the same mounting solution as socket 1150. So the upcoming Haswell processors from Intel, you should also be able to drop this right in there. Also for AMD, you have AM2, AM3, and of course the derivative AM3 pluses. Also FM1 and FM2, and even all the way back to socket 939. So if you got an old FX series processor, you want to go ahead and cool this with, well, you can do that. Let's flip around to this side. We have a chart right there indicating the cooling performance, which is fantastic, of course. Apart from the pump/block tubing and the radiator, you also get a couple 120mm Helix PWM fans. And this unit is designed more for for silent operation. So you get a combination of really good cooling and silent operation. And then you do have the option, of course, you can choose your own fans if you want. The Helixes are wonderful, but if you don't want to go for all-out overclocking or something like that, well, that might be an option that you have as well to swap out your fans. Here's some extra information about buying a liquid cooling Swiftech system and that sort of thing, if you guys want to read over that. Here's some technical specs up in the upper left. So there's the material. One of the biggest features of this product is the fact that the radiator uses all copper fins. You also have brass tubes. There's actually the dimensions of it, as well as fan specs right here, pump specs, and tubing specs. If you're interested in expanding this, it uses 3/8 inch inner diameter tubing, 5/8 inch outer diameter, so you can integrate this, as previously mentioned, into a wider loop. And then finally, here is a graphical layout with all of the dimensions for you guys, so you can take a closer look at that. Let's go ahead and look at accessories. Inside the box, we have, well, we have what's in the box, I suppose. All right, here's the entire unit, and one of the cool things I like about how they have shipped this unit is that it's all pre-assembled, which really helps with the assembly process. Or actually, chances are you'll need to do a little bit of disassembly to actually install that. I'm going to go over the included accessories first. So of course we have a full manual here for the H220 from Swiftech. So this will walk you through the installation process as well as the components that are included, of course. The installation process, I can say, is fairly simple. Apart from that, you have this little guy. So this is actually a PWM fan controller. You'll notice the red one there. This one will actually report your fan's RPMs back to your system. So if you are going to plug this in, for instance, to your CPU fan header, you will want to make sure that you at least plug a fan into the red header, but then you have 7 more as well as that, so 8 total. You simply give it some power from a Molex plug, and then plug this into your PWM header on your motherboard or your fan controller, and then you can split it 8 ways. It's got some adhesive on the back as well as some screw mounting points. You do get some TIM mate thermal interface material from Swiftech, so you can use this to do your installation. You get 1 gram of that. It's some tiny little screws there, and in all honesty, I'm not positive what the tiny little screws are for, but let's look at what else is included. All right. You get some extra screws here, and these are specifically for the Intel LGA 2011 bracket installation. You also have some longer screws here, and that is for attaching the fans to the radiator, or if you're going to add a couple more 120mm fans and go for a push-pull configuration, you have those there. You also have some of these standard fan mounting screws. And then finally you have AMD brackets right here, which are quite sturdy, actual metal AMD brackets, like so. So you can get that set up. What else is in here? Tiny little screws. These are the little screws to mount this little PWM fan controller. And onto the H220 itself. So we'll start off over here with the block/pump. As you can see, it's got kind of a hex pattern there on the top, as well as the Swiftech logo. Here is the cord for that, so you simply plug that into the 4-pin CPU fan header on your motherboard, and that's going to provide power for this unit. Now this is actually a very strong pump, so the idea here is that this will work just fine for this current loop, but you can add on to the loop if you so desire. Now, if you do a really expansive loop, you might need to add an extra pump, extra reservoir, that sort of thing. But Swiftech has demoed this, just this unit with this pump, powering the radiator as well as at least one other graphics card. So if you say, for instance, want to get a water block for your graphics card, integrate this with that, you just need some extra tubing and some extra clamps, and you should be able to get yourself set up and good to go. I should also mention you get some nice braiding on the cable there, so if you want your system to look nice, well, you should be all set. You have some flexibility here with the actual pump connections. The barbs right here, as you can see, are attached with some clamps to hold those in place. You don't want to touch these at all if you're just going to leave it as is for your sort of pseudo closed loop cooling, but you can remove that if necessary if you wanted to change out the tubing, something along those lines. And then here you have the pre-installed bracket, and this is the bracket for Intel sockets. So for 775, 1366, and 1155 or 1156 or 1150, this is the bracket that will be used. You just remove that, adhere it to the back of your motherboard with the included sticky pads, which you can sort of see right there. And then you add the block on the top after you've added some thermal paste, of course. So that's easy enough to remove. Everything else is pre-installed for you. And here's just a look at the opposite side, if I can do this without kinking the cables, of course, or the tubing. One thing you should be careful of if you're installing this when you're sort of maneuvering it around your system is you don't want to kink this tubing at all. You want to make sure you have nice, smooth airflow through that. You do have plenty of tubing length, though, so depending on where you actually want to mount the radiator, you should be pretty much set for that. All right, let me set the pump off to the side. We'll take a closer look at the radiator. As you can tell, you got your 220 millimeter Helix fans, which are pre-installed right there. They're currently set to push, so they're going to be pushing air across the radiator. If you do want to swap that, you just remove them and flip them, or remove them, add them to the other side. Of course, that's going to depend on your configuration. As you can see, tied on here, we have the two plugs for each fan. So those are both 4-pin PWM controllable fans. I should also mention that the pump is also PWM controllable, so you can lower the RPMs on the pump if you want to. That'll give you slightly lessened cooling performance, but you can reduce the noise that it generates if you so desire. Here's a look at the radiator, and you probably can't tell because you're not holding it, but copper, being a heavier metal than aluminum, does better with heat dissipation and heat absorption as well, and it is also heavier. So that's why I can say, just by holding this, I can tell it's much heavier than a typical aluminum finned radiator is. You'll notice the Swiftech logo here on the side, as well as on the opposite side right there. There's a bit of a reservoir here on this end, and then this being part of an expandable loop, you will notice you also have a fill port down here at that end. And that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Once again, this has been our unboxing and overview of the Swiftech H220, the 120 by 240 millimeter liquid CPU cooler, which is expandable. I'm Paul with Newegg TV, and if you enjoyed this video, you can find more on our Newegg TV YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video if you found it useful, and we'll see you all next time.